The stacks on her mind, grinding all day, hustle refined, shattering ceilings, she steers and untamed. Wealth is her title, wealth is her game. Power in heels or sneakers on deck. Respect comes easy when you earn that check. From boardroom to businesses, she's got finesse. This woman right here, built for success. She's a bad bitch, and she signs checks. Built her own throne, what you expect? Dreaming real big, no limit, no stress. She's a bad bitch, and she signs checks. Oh, money moves, yeah, she runs the show. Hired queens, a little.
So I hope you are enjoying this, because it's actually one of those songs that just I always remember listening to as a child. And as I mentioned to these lovely ladies, getting up on the dance floor for it. It's like that song, you're like, okay, maybe I won't sit this one out. It's We Are Family. So anyway, our mission for this podcast is simple. And it's really about giving hiring women the tools and the inspiration to take control of their finances. And I'm your host, Jackie Porter. I'm the one here jamming with you. And I am so excited to dive into today's episode. We've been listening to Sister Sledge, We Are Family. And I hope you guys were enjoying it. And why I chose this song is it talks about empowerment, community, and this whole journey of self-discovery, which I thought would be perfect for our discussion today. How many of you actually in your own life rely on the sisterhood to keep you sane? I certainly have a sisterhood of sister friends, and they absolutely keep me sane, especially these days. Well, stay tuned to this episode of the podcast, because today we're going to be talking all about finding your vibe and your tribe, which is what we've been doing here. And it's something every high-achieving woman really needs to do to thrive, both personally and professionally. I think it's really important, even though I'm a financial planner, to say success isn't just about the numbers. It's also about aligning the right people and environments so that it helps us to bring out our best selves. So joining me today, two amazing experts in career growth and community building. And one is Kim Chernecki and Geralyn Ochab. I hope I said your last name right, Geralyn.
Thank you.
They're actually the CEOs and founder of Vibe. And we're going to talk about what Vibe is in a moment. But both women in their respective careers have actually helped countless hiring women build powerful networks, elevate their careers, and of course, find balance through meaningful connections. Geralyn and Kim, welcome to the show. Thank you for vibing with me.
Thanks, Jackie, for having us.
Glad to be here and vibing with you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Well, let's start with why having the right community is actually essential for career and for personal success. Why do you think hiring women need to be intentional about their network?
Well, Jackie, you had mentioned sisterhood, and I love that. I had actually thought about the importance of network and communities and what that has played for women across centuries. Right? As a backbone of our society and through all our different roles of family, caregiver, and especially in business and entrepreneurship, the people you surround yourself with really not only influence your mindset, they also influence your well-being. And, the old saying of, show me the 5 or 6 people you surround yourself with. And that is absolutely critical, even more for high achieving women, because I think as high achieving women, we have unique challenges. We put a lot of pressure on ourselves. We really do try to fulfill all our roles to the best of our ability. And having a strong, like-minded community that doesn't only just provide support for all those roles that we are, as I was saying, but enhancing our connection really brings professional and personal fulfillment. And I think female leadership is different than male or than their male counterparts, because we have differences that we need to embrace. We no longer are, some of my generation, we tended to want to be a little bit more like males. And I think now it's really nice to see us embracing our differences. And I think there's really 3. We have a difference in leadership styles and stereotypes, because as women, we really do measure higher on all the emotional intelligence scores and communication styles. We statistically understand and discuss feelings a lot more, and men tend to excel at controlling their emotions, and we are more likely to feel comfortable demonstrating our emotions, but we need to feel a little more assertiveness. The next thing I think is access to capital and resources for leadership. Like there's been lots of amazing strides and funds and groups and support for female business owners accessing capital, but we still have a long way to go. You know, those specialized funds are still a really small percentage of all money that is out there, and we continue to need to work on our representation and our visibility. And then the third reason why we're here, networking and membership. Males have done that for eons, just naturally. And I think we need more targeted opportunities so that we get women out and be able to access the influential networks that are out there, and really something that's designed for women and the challenges that we face.
So I love that, because I'm hearing there's a few things that really enhances your network. My mother used to always say, show me your friends, show me who you are, right?
Yeah.
And
exactly.
you're saying finally we're at a stage where we are embracing our differences, the fact that we're more emotional, the fact that we have unique challenges around even getting access to capital, and then making sure we're in the right rooms, networking with the right people. But tell me something, how do you identify if you're in the wrong network? So it's great when you understand that you're in the right one, the right network, but how does somebody identify if they're in the wrong network?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, we know that you're in the right community if you feel energized and inspired and support it, but you know you're in the wrong one. And I think one really good indication is, are you afraid to speak up? Are you afraid to have a voice? How do you feel? Do you feel comfortable disagreeing, asking questions? Bringing that diversity of thought is absolutely key, and that's what makes women leaders amazing, because that diversity in the way that we think. Do your interactions make you feel drained, right? Like, do you come away from the meeting or the group and you kind of just go, whoa, I'm exhausted. And so I think the right tribe, Vibe CEO, finding your right tribe, it's really finding one that helps you grow. It pushes you, it feels safe. You're able to be honest and you feel collaborative, but you also have what you need now and what you will need tomorrow. And it's something that is holding space to meet you where you're at.
I love that. I love that it's like this gut check. I'm in the wrong place. I feel like, oh, I can't wait to leave. I'm in this room and I'm like, oh, I cannot wait to leave. So let's talk again about how women can find and cultivate this ideal network. So now I know when I'm in the wrong place. How do women find and cultivate their ideal network? What are some steps you would actually suggest to help a woman find the right tribe?
Well, I'll take that one.
Okay.
and build on what Geralyn shared. So I think first is, what's top of mind for you that you want support around? I mean, is it career growth? Is it growing and starting a business, or starting and growing a business? Is it to, do that, career path to the CEO seat, which is what we're all about, elevating women to positions of power, right? Or is it personal spiritual growth, right? So when you have clarity around what your goal and your needs are, it's amazing what can show up. That amazing saying, when the student is ready, the teacher will come. I'd love to share a little story. I remember a few years ago, I had a previous business, Freedom Street, which is when I first met you, Jackie.
Yes.
And I remember my goal at the time was, okay, I've gotten so far. Now I want to really grow and scale my business. And I remember thinking, you know what? I want a coach. I want a community. And I'm pretty spiritual myself. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to wait for the right one to show up. Then our mutual friend, Tracy Bissett, I remember she said to me, Kim, do you want to go to this event with me? And at the time it was, Eleanor Beaton. And I was like, And I just knew right then she was the one for that point in time. That was quite a few years ago. And I think you and I were in that, we're in that together. So yeah. And so it's like, I was clear and I was waiting and it showed up. So all that to say, you want to know what your goals, what your needs are. What are you looking for in terms of community? You know, is it professional growth? Is it personal? Is it both? Right. I think another thing is ensuring that your tribe is diverse. So if, again, let's go back to business. If your goals are business or career related, you want to make sure that you include mentors. So people who have walked in your shoes, right? And can guide you, right? You also want to have peers, right? So you can feel comfortable exchanging ideas. And you also want peers that are ahead of you in their progress so they can challenge your perspective. You also want diversity of experience, thought, to build on what Geralyn said earlier, but also different industries, because that's what drives innovation, right? Is you have a number of different perspectives, and you don't always know what you don't know, right? And you don't know that you don't know what you don't know. So having those different, right? Like having different people who can challenge you, who can support you, who can guide you, I think is really, really important. And I think the other piece is, and what I think is most important, are seeking out communities that are aligned with your values and goals. So there's lots of things you can choose from, like different groups, like there are communities, there's peer groups, there's mastermind groups, there's associations. But in terms of goals and values, and, I'm going to talk about Vibe CEO because that's what Geralyn and I are building together. It's tailored for female CEOs and business owners. And the old saying, it's lonely at the top. So we've created Vibe to bring together those who make and have to make those big decisions for small to mid-sized businesses, and also to be able to elevate and sustain women to positions of power. We need more women in positions of power, right? Especially today. Especially today. Oh my God, right? And also small, medium-sized businesses. That's the biggest. That's the biggest engine. It's the biggest growth globally is small to mid-sized businesses. So we want more women leading in those positions of power, and the support to be able to do that. So in terms of values, we're building Vibe CEO because we know from firsthand experience, the women that we advise and coach and run businesses, we want to be able to bring women to have an opportunity to bring their whole self to their businesses, right? Geralyn said earlier, in her time, it was more like being more like men. No, it's about being authentically women in your power and being able to bring your whole self to your business and life. And so we've created this community to address that. Women at the top and having that balance. And I know Geralyn and I, when you and I were chatting before this podcast, you were talking about some of the women that you've coached. They will talk about the fact that, should I have kids? When should I have kids? Yeah. And if I do have them, what about care? And you've never experienced that with your male clients, right? They never even bring it up, right? No. So women have
these conversations with if they're not in the same scenario as you, facing the same challenges as you mentioned.
Exactly. And so men and women are different. Love men. Hey, we love men.
We love men.
And a lot of men that support women. Absolutely. And, there is a real place for having your tribe of women. And I think what we were just talking about earlier, the biggest concern right now, is this whole geopolitical uncertainty that we're navigating. And things are changing, not on a weekly basis, like on an hourly basis, right? And it's really, I think, important for women to have a powerful network that they can trust and depend on to help navigate those big decisions that are, we're navigating uncharted territory here, right?
Yeah, tariffs and trying to figure out, if you're a business owner, what to do, as you said, where to make new connections, new relationships to keep your business in survival mode, right? So
absolutely, and hopefully,
such a helpful conversation.
So that's, so I think, just to summarize, when looking for your tribe, you want to consider all of those things: your values, your goals, what you're looking for, diversity of thought, diversity of level, and someone to really support navigating what we're going through right now.
Yeah, and that place where you, as you mentioned before, can feel vulnerable and talk about your challenges and be, bring your whole self, as you mentioned. This is extremely helpful for the community to learn about. I had a question for women who, I see it all the time in the finance world, where women have confidence gaps around their finances. So I wondered, what about women who struggle with the same sort of confidence gap? And they have those feelings of imposter syndrome. And so they have fear of reaching out to new communities. What do you suggest to them?
It's so funny, the timing of this question, because I run a number of peer groups, and we actually I ran a peer group with some VPs and SVPs recently, like it was last week, and we were talking about this very thing. It's interesting. Oh, and one other thing, I was actually talking to a global Fortune 10 woman who's like a board director at some of the biggest organizations in the world. She has imposter syndrome. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What? Like, how can you have imposter? And she was so disarming. You just felt like so relatable, like with her. I mean, she just goes, oh yeah, I get so nervous presenting. I'm like, really? but so just going back to this peer group that I was running last week, they were talking about, for example, events. Like that can be really terrifying, or test your confidence going to events, whether you're with people or with on your own. And they express things, and these are people who are SVPs, VPs in like some big like banks and big organizations. And they were like, they had the fear of being a wallflower, or not feeling comfortable showing up by themselves, feeling inauthentic. What if, no one talks to me? And some of the things that came out of that conversation was, dress well. If you're going to go to an event, dress well so you can feel confident. Show up your best self physically, right? Like do it up. Walking up to someone who kind of looks open and welcoming, and going up and just leaning right in. Hi, Jackie, really nice to meet you. I'm Kim Chernecki. And, just really like doing that.
I feel like that's how we met, Kim.
I think so. And people love to be approached that way, right? So and so you're kind of putting yourself out there. But, another thing, and I love to do this, and I know Geralyn and I like to do this together, is attend an event with a buddy. So you can introduce, this is Geralyn. Oh, this is good. You know what I mean? So you cheat a little bit, but why not, right? And I think the most important thing for people who might feel that confidence or whatever is be curious, ask questions, ask thoughtful questions, versus going, oh, what do you do? Oh, and then you're asking for a title and a card, and then you're trying to do your elevator pitch. Forget that. Just ask questions of people, right? And it's funny. One of my favorite questions I like to share, and you don't have to ask it this way because it's my way, but whatever works for you, is asking someone, so, what does success look like for you over the next year? And people are like, oh, that's a great question. So it's just great, like, ask questions rather than trying to do like a pitch. No one wants to hear a pitch.
Yeah,
they just want authentic connection, right? And
well, this is it. I was going to say it's like a pitch, and then the business card comes out, right? You're like, ooh,
just like, and boring, right? So I think building confidence, it's like a muscle that you work, and it gets stronger with practice. But yeah, some of those tips: show up well, be curious. That's half the
authentic,
and showing up. Yeah, and showing up, be there, because they say, showing up is 80% of success is showing up. So
totally. One of my favorite questions to ask in scenarios, like, what are you excited about these days? Like,
right?
Because I get excited easily. So it's like, I want to hear about it. So anyway, it's all about being, as you said, being authentic and showing up and doing it regularly to help build. Love that. Now, we were talking a bit before about bringing your whole self, that CEO who wasn't sure when she should have a baby. And it's all of these questions that the pressures are even more pronounced if you're a high earning woman and you've got so much more at stake if you do take time off or whatever it is you're trying to juggle. So let's talk about balance. How do women in these scenarios juggle demanding careers and personal lives? And how do they do all of this without getting burned out? Because it's kind of easy, right?
It really is. And actually, I'd like to start off just reframing the whole thing because, we've been talking about balance for decades. And I'm not sure balance is achievable because it's not the same definition for each and every person. So I like to reframe it as finding the equilibrium between growth and comfort.
Ooh. Say that twice.
Yeah. Finding the equilibrium. Yeah, between growth and comfort. Because I heard a quote and it got me thinking that comfort zone is a beautiful place, but nothing ever grows there. And it's so true, right? So really, when we're looking for balance, we're not looking to stop growth in any particular area of ourselves or of our life. So I think it's really important. And with Vibe CO, what I love about it is it's authentically us, and it's holistic. We're taking a holistic approach to career, family, and self. So it's not just a business community, but it's a holistic person community. But having said that, I think for that equilibrium, I think prioritization of boundaries are absolutely key. And we all know we need to have boundaries. Some of us are better at it than others. But setting the boundaries between work and personal is important. And it doesn't mean that you separate who you are between them. You're still the same person in both environments, but setting those boundaries and setting expectations of what you really want so that you're not, there's going to be times where you're working evenings and weekends, but you're not, it's not something that you're actually sacrificing continually your family for, or vice versa. So one thing that I've become really good at is learning that no is a complete sentence. You might have heard that before, but it is a complete sentence. And resist the urge to go, okay, well, I'm saying no, and I need to explain all the different reasons why I'm saying no. And no is no, and politely. But and I think that's something really hard for high achievers.
I do with you
to say no, to delegate tasks and schedule downtime, and make time for relaxation and rejuvenation. We kind of like the spa edge. We're hoping that we can even get that into with some of our events.
Please keep me posted on that one.
Yes. The next thing is, surrounding yourself with a support system. So obviously it's a community and a network, but also do that in every aspect you can. Like find those positive people that bring out the best in you. Kim touched on mentorship. Make sure that you have guidance from experienced people of all walks and ages. Join a community and connect with other like-minded career individuals. And I think the last thing is a mindset shift, is realize and reframe that perfection is unattainable. Some perfectionists realize they're perfectionists and some do not. Everybody wants to do their best, of course. Make sure that you're progressing over perfection. So sometimes good enough is good enough. And that is the way it is. And I think the last aspect of that is make sure you celebrate successes and celebrate your achievements, no matter how small. I think we tend to be really hard on ourselves, and it's really just nice to have somebody to say, hey, this is a win today. Because if you get a PO or a new partner or something, when you're working virtual, it's hard to do the happy dance by yourself, right? So make sure that you always have somebody that you can celebrate with.
Yeah, having that cheerleader, because sometimes you actually forget how, I want to say effing, but I won't say it, amazing you are, right?
Yes.
And I feel like I saw often, and of course, I never remember how amazing I am, but I always remember how amazing my sister friends are, right? So I'm like, you just did that? Oh my God, that's crazy. Like, that's amazing. Like, do you realize how many, and like, it's almost like you do forget. And it's
Right.
having those cheerleaders around you just kind of, helps you to really take that time to enjoy and celebrate. Because I don't know if you always do as a hiring woman. I feel like you move on to the next thing or you're tempted to do that, which is also a way to burn out.
Absolutely.
Wow. Like that's really, really valuable information. And I think that's where, those supportive people in your community help you to not get overwhelmed. And it's really about what can I get out of these relationships so that you start with that in mind. So you don't end up, feeling like you have to spread yourself too thin to go to every event and do everything, which I think is another way where sometimes you can like feel burned out because you're trying to have too many things, too much stuff happening. It sounds like it's a lot more about having those quality connections. So yeah, find your cheerleaders, ladies, and make sure you're not overdoing it. Just it's really about that intentionality, it sounds like. So now let's talk about some actionable steps that you think hiring women can take. And for those for the women that we have listening right now, what do you think are 3 actionable steps they can take right now to start optimizing their careers and their personal lives through, finding those right connections that you guys are talking about?
Absolutely. So I would say, well, I've got 4, actually.
Okay,
4.
of course you do.
So first of all,
You're a shooter too.
is audit your current network. Like, evaluate your, just even look at your LinkedIn, make a list, and evaluate your existing relationships, identify any gaps. And really important is determine who you'd like to deepen relationships with and figure out a way to do that. And a good way to do that is to determine the with them, what's in it for them, like what does success look like for them, and how can you help them achieve it. So in other words, audit your network can get very strategic around it. I would say a really good next step is just to attend one new event or join a community. Step outside your comfort zone, be in that thing that between comfort and whatever it is.
That balance. I forget what she called it, the balance between in your comfort zone and growing.
And growth, yeah. So
growth and comfort.
Yeah, growth
get
and
outside that, and engage with like-minded women. I would say men too, but women. And one of the things I would do is talk to the connectors in your network. I don't know if you ever read the book by Malcolm Gladwell, Tipping Point. They talk about that there's connectors. 1 in every 150 people on this planet are connectors. They know 10 times more people than anyone else. Don't know why that is, but those connectors in your community. Talk to them and just say, what groups should I join? What networks should I join? Who do you think I should talk to? So just, really utilize those connectors. Also, I would say the third thing is to reach out to someone you admire, whether it's a mentor, peer, industry leader, and start a conversation. Go for the with them. What's most important to them that you could maybe, help them help them to achieve something, and then they'll do the same in return. But having said all that, that's kind of some strategies. And although you want to be strategic in your network, it's also about being present to every single person that you're talking to, because you never know when that next good lead could come. It can be when you're at a hair salon. It can be, be when you're at a coffee shop, right? Like you never know. So being present where you are, you'll never know where that next insight or contact's going to come. And then the fourth is, if you're a CEO or a founder or a business owner, check out Vibe CEO.
I was actually going to mention because this actually is one of the things I wanted to ask you, because people who are listening right now are hearing all this and might think, where can they get in connect with you? Like, how can they contact you if they want to learn more? Because this might be sparking something in them. Because when you were talking about being present, I kept thinking about a woman who promotes me widely with her female communities. Sold a whole bunch of my books through her female community. And where did I meet her? At the nail salon.
Really? Oh my God.
I had hours to wait for my hands to dry.
Here, I'll promote your book.
And we were just chatting about everything, right? Because that's what you do in a hair salon or
Oh,
nail
absolutely.
salon. And, you know, we had this amazing connection. And then her husband, who's a famous photographer, took all pictures of all these amazing celebrities, did all these
Wow.
pictures of me for nothing. And, you know, seriously. And I met them in a nail salon because I was present. So, yeah, honestly, these tips are fire. Like, people really need to understand that you really want to show up authentically, be yourself. So, Kim, if people are like listening to us talk about, you know, my nail salon visit and being authentic, and they don't necessarily know where to start, how do they get a hold of you and Geralyn?
Well, you could, I guess the easiest thing is to check out our website at www.vibe-ceo.com.
Amazing.
That's the easiest way.
We'll put it in the show notes as well. Confidant community. You know, perfect. This was such an insightful and amazing conversation
So
for bringing back so many awesome memories.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun.
awesome.
And thank you again, all of our listeners. Remember, finding the right people that uplift you, support you, is just actually as important as achieving financial success. Your circle matters. I think it says your net worth is your net worth. And so the right people will actually uplift you. They'll encourage your growth. They'll support your healing. They'll bring out the best in you. What I love most is you can be yourself without judgment. Your conversations will often leave you inspired, that cheerleader vibe. And it feels really safe, like not like a competition. And it, more than anything, will align with the life that you're trying to build. So those are my takeaways from you two lovely ladies. Thank you so much. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and of course, share it with someone who might need to hear this. I'm serious, ladies. I don't even have a nail salon today to talk about how wonderful those nail salon visits are. Anyway, if you're looking to build your financial confidence and you don't know where to start, DM us, because that's a community that also can have lots of judgment. We're all here about not creating any judgment at all for people who need support in that area. So feel free to DM us. And thank you again for tuning into the High Earning Women podcast. Until next time, Confidant community, see you next time. Thanks again, ladies.
Thanks,
Bye.
Jackie. See you.
Thank you, Jackie.